Welcome back to the Matt Buff Show, where we like to point out things that you may have missed. Everybody's focusing on the Republican side because democracy in action to make sure we don't do the status quo is happening, which is a great thing. But also on the Democrat side, the guy who's introducing Hakeem Jeffries every time talks about quote unquote gun violence, like the gun jumps off the table there and looks at you and says, let's go shoot somebody today. That gun is violent. They don't talk about every day how gun saves lives. But they're every day talking about with their agenda, if they were in charge, they'd be going for more strict gun control. And on the Matt Buff Show, the only gun control we believe in is how you should learn how to control your gun. Get the proper training. That's what we're saying. Let's go to Gun Owners of America in Florida. Luis Valdes back on the Matt Buff Show. Louis, great to have you.
It's a pleasure and honor to be on your show. And again, thank you for the hard work you do as a freedom ambassador and spreading the truth on the airwaves, brother. Thanks for what you do.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you. We'll keep up the good fight just like you guys are. You got an article coming out soon, an op-ed, and we're going to post the heck out of it. How gun control is racist.
You got that right. Gun control is inherently racist. And I mean, here in Florida and across the country, the direct history of gun control has been specifically to disarm people of color, ethnic minorities, religious prosecution, economic prosecution. It's always been that. It's always been about bigotry, hatred, and racism and disarming a certain class of people so those that are doing the disarming could stay in power and rule over them.
That's what they want to do. They want to make sure. That's what happened in Australia. They got a huge gun control ban, so they impose some of the strictest lockdowns, and they do whatever they want to their people because they know there's not going to be a country that rises up against them. Just like here in America, they want to get the guns. Biden wants to ban what he calls assault weapons. There's no such thing as an assault weapon.
It's, the Biden administration and the gun grabbers are ludicrous. Their entire idea of labeling things as assault weapons or weapons of war, or that the idea that firearms commit crime. Look, I have an AR-15 here with a bayonet. I'm still waiting for it to jump out and commit crime or rob a bank and come back with a pile of cash. It's just lazy. It just keeps sitting here doing nothing.
Well, you should make sure that AR-15 is grounded. You stay there in that corner until you do the right thing and go rob a bank. I mean, you wait forever. It's not going to happen because it's the crazy person behind it. It's the person behind it who has some kind of agenda. And knives and hammers are the biggest threats to people's lives in America, not that AR-15 with a bayonet behind you.
You got that right, brother. It's, the idea that a firearm makes a criminal act as a criminal is just laughably funny in a sad, horrible way. Because we can look at, again, looking across the country, each state is a laboratory of democracy and a laboratory of government. And we've seen how some states have become draconian with gun laws and have heavily restricted the law abiding to access firearms. Well, guess what, folks? Criminals break the law. Do you think that for the last 100+ years that the state of New York had the Sullivan Law in effect, requiring permits, and it was May issue, and you had to get the king's blessing and get this signed off and bribe this guy? Do you think criminals cared? No. They committed crimes. They didn't care. It's been illegal to commit murder since Moses stepped off the mountain with the 10 Commandments. That hasn't stopped criminals from breaking the law. Criminals are criminals because this is a shocking revelation. They break the law. Laws only stop the law abiding from committing certain acts. So restricting the law abiding from having a easy access to firearms, legally carrying firearms in multiple places, being able to defend themselves and their loved ones and their property and their businesses and their homes. All that does is make it easier for criminals to be criminals.
That's it. Fat guy dies from cheeseburgers. You don't ban cheeseburgers. I mean, this is what happens. Criminals do criminal things. If there was not one gun in America, they'd figure out another way. And they did. They found hammers and knives are just as effective. And that's because they're criminals. You put laws, you can't ban cheeseburgers We don't ban football, and we don't ban firearms that protect. I mean, we could tell stories of how firearms protect somebody every single day, but that's against the narrative. They don't want to talk about that.
Oh, you got that right. Look, I mean, how many cars are used in the commission of crimes? Are we going after the car industry because cars are used in drive-bys and getaways and smash and grabs? No, we're not doing that. I mean, but you said it right. A bad guy will do bad things with or without a firearm. One of the most horrific school massacres in American history was done with a gallon of gasoline and a book of matches, for God's sakes. The guy burned down a school. He didn't use a firearm. He simply blocked the exits and burnt down the place. So again, bad people will do bad things. And the idea that restricting firearms will somehow lessen horrific effects of violent crime is laughable. We just saw it in New York City. You had a guy attack the NYPD with a machete. You know, a common garden implement you can get at any lawn and garden store across the country. You know, you can get them for $5. He used that to attack cops. Oh, but you don't see them pushing laws to restrict garden, machetes, hose, shovels, baseball bats. You don't see that.
No, you don't, because with guns, it's about controlling the lobby. And if they can control the lobby and get rid of what they call assault weapons, then they can control the people better. But back to the gasoline with the school, they do want to ban gasoline. That's for sure. That's on their list too. Gasoline.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is true. They do want to ban gasoline and electricity. You know, as the old saying goes, what did a socialist country use before candles? Electricity.
That's right. Before candles, they had electricity. They just want us to live in this big log cabin somewhere. It's just weird. This vision of America, the Democrat Party, and they always start every speech in these House votes with guns. They start it with guns, and they talk about LGBTQ alphabet people, but the guns. They just they're the Socialist Party of America now. They're no longer Democrats. No longer Democrats. So they want the candles burning. They want the electric cars that don't work in the snowstorm, by the way. You can't charge them in a snowstorm. So if you live up north, you're screwed. But they want this place where they can control everything and control our bodies, our minds, our jabs, our weapons, and everything. That's what it comes down to. This guns is one part of the big puzzle of they just want to control everything we do, say, and talk about.
As my Uncle Mario, a Bay of Pigs veteran, said when I was a kid, disarmed people are slaves of the state. There has never been an armed group of people that have been oppressed and controlled by government. It is always the unarmed, the disarmed, and the politically weakened that are controlled and abused by government and despots and dictators and tyrannical regimes. And that's what it comes down to. We are free because we are armed. And our right to exercise our inalienable God-given rights, the Second Amendment, because, you know, everyone keeps confusing this. The Constitution doesn't grant rights. The Constitution enumerates rights that existed before the Constitution was even drafted. And the Second Amendment states that we, the people, have the right to keep and bear arms. That means we have the right to own firearms and we have the right to carry them. And one of the greatest stains, especially, you know, I know you're out of Orlando and I'm out of Miami, but one of the greatest stains on our state's history here in Florida is Jim Crow bigotry. After the Civil War, the Confederate sympathizers regained control of the legislature, and the first thing they did was they rewrote the state constitution to say, you have the right to keep and bear arms, but the legislature has the right to regulate the method of carry. And the reason why they did that was to disarm freed blacks. And guess what? We still have that today in our state constitution, and we still have a permitting system today that is the remnants of that. If we want to really be the freest state in the union, we need to have constitutional carry, no more, no less. People should be able to legally own a firearm, to be able to legally carry it without a government permission slip.
I hope we're working on that, because over the last couple of years, let's talk local Florida real quick. Nikki Fried, the AG, would take those applications, those permit applications, and throw them in a drawer. People would wait months for approval because Nikki Fried hates guns.
Very much so. I remember when she was Commissioner of Agriculture.
Yeah.
The state law says that, there's a 90-day window that the permit must be issued. Well, the Nikki Fried, she found out a loophole. If during the background investigation, if something suspicious comes up, that stops the clock, and then she would just basically throw it away. She would just throw it in the circular filing bin, never touch it again, and it's not in violation of the law, apparently. But the other thing that she did during the height of the pandemic, she shut down the application permit.
Yeah, shut it down
for
completely.
3 months. Just 3 months, literally. We're not processing it, even though, mind you, the entire permitting process was done through the mail, so there was no public health risk. She just said, nope, we're not doing this. We have seen with our background check system here in Florida, you can't take a firearm home unless you pass a background check at a gun store. Well, FDLE runs it, and even though it's supposed to be instantaneous, it takes hours to days sometimes. And sometimes just because if the state's offices are closed, they're closed. A right delayed is a right denied. And we have those issues going on across the board here in Florida. Luckily, we have a fantastic governor. Governor DeSantis has flat out pledged that he will make constitutional carry a must-pass issue before he leaves office, whether that means 2024 if he runs for the White House, or 2028 when he's done with his second term. No matter what, he has made that pledge, and he has called out the Republican legislature for its failure to pass it the last 2 years he was in office. Through his effort and through our collective efforts at Gun Owners of America, we have gotten now he's no longer the incoming, he is now the House Speaker, Paul Renner, on record pledging that constitutional carry will pass the House. Our current challenge is Kathleen Passidomo, the Senate President.
So that's what you're working on. You're the Florida State Director for Gun Owners of America. You're calling every day, yeah?
We're calling every day. We're pushing every day. Our members are calling every day. We have had a lot of communications, both up and down the chain, with key officials here in Florida. Constitutional carry is a top priority now through our efforts and the efforts of gun owners in Florida. And again, Matt, through your efforts, because you have helped spread the cause. So again, people like you are crucial in this. You give people like me a platform and a voice to spread this, but more importantly, I know you are passionate about this. So you, through your own efforts, have helped on this. So our national motto is E pluribus unum, out of many one. And together, we've gotten this together. We've gotten this issue to be the front runner.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because we're all in this together. And that's what we have to do. We got to get this done. I see Governor DeSantis being serious about that. If we can get this through the legislation, we should have constitutional carry within 11 months.
I think we'll have it before then.
Good.
Again, you now have the governor and you have the House Speaker pledging to making a legislative issue. Last year around, I have my dates confused, but I think it was May. You had Kathleen Passidomo. She was on the Bob Harden show, and she was asked about it, and she basically said, look, half of my district out on the beach end, they're kind of against it. All the folks that live inland in my district in the state, they're for it. I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. But we've heard some good, positive words that even though she hasn't publicly supported it, that she's coming around to the issue. And part of it is simply this. The governor wants it. The House Speaker wants it. This is a Republican supermajority. If she is the roadblock to this, her constituency, and more importantly, her financial donors will be looking at her basically saying, why are you making DeSantis look bad? When DeSantis is one of the most popular governors in Florida's history, because He flipped Miami-Dade to go Republican. He flipped Palm Beach County to go
Yeah.
Republican. He flipped Osceola County to go Republican. He turned the majority population of Puerto Ricans in Florida to vote Republican. DeSantis has done an amazing work in voter outreach, in getting places and groups that have never voted predominantly Republican to vote Republican. And on top of that, he's loved across the country. So Pasadomo has to know that if she blocks this in any way, she will look horrible, and any future political ambition she has will basically be destroyed.
That's right. He has a mandate, and we don't allow stealing elections here in Florida too. That's why you saw such a good turnout. But that's that's awesome. That's another topic. Keep up the great work. When you, Luis Valdes, when you get more info and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, come back on the show. Let's celebrate this. Let's get this done.
By all means, brother. Look, I'm giddy as I've never been this excited, because we've never had a governor publicly back gun rights the way we have. I mean, this is uncharted territory here in Florida. So it's new. It's exciting. I'm passionate about it. I know everyone. I know you're passionate. I know your listeners are passionate. I know our members are passionate. I mean, things are moving and shaking behind the scenes and publicly. And as soon as I get good word, trust me, you're going to hear about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's great news. I mean, I can't believe we were a few percentage points away from Andrew Gillum way back when. This would be a whole different conversation.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, the amazing thing is, 20 years ago, if you told me 20 years ago that half the country would be constitutional carry, I would have thought it was crazy. But I mean, look, now we have the Bruin decision that flat out says that it's carrying and owning a firearm outside of the home is an enumerated right. Yeah. I mean, that even goes and completely vacates Florida's history of racist gun control. In 1941, you had a state Supreme Court case, Watson v. Stone, where a white gentleman was arrested for carrying a firearm without a permit. And during deliberations, Justice Buford wrote in his opinion that, I know of this law. This law was written back in the 1890s to disarm blacks. And if this law was ever challenged on the entire premise of requiring a permit to own and carry a firearm, it would never be upheld because it goes against the Second Amendment. Justice Buford's words have been vindicated and upheld in the Bruin decision.
That's amazing.
I mean, in 1941, he said gun control wouldn't be held up to snuff because of the Second Amendment of its, especially under racist reasons. And the Bruin decision has literally held that true. And now you have the governor here in Florida winning by a 20% margin. You have the governor supporting constitutional carry. I mean, half the country is on it. It's just, we're on the offensive now. No longer are gun rights on the defensive. We are now on the offensive, and victory breeds victory. It's a long, hard fight, folks, but I'm telling you this, as long as we keep up the effort, we will win.
Yes, we will. How can people follow you? To give the website?
It's real simple. Go to gunowners.org, and if you want to be a member, it costs less than a box of pizza and a 2-liter Coke these days. It's just $25 a year, folks, to be a GOA member. But when you're a GOA member, I can tell you this: every penny goes towards the fight. You get up-to-the-date alerts on your state and local affairs. You get up-to-the-date alerts on federal affairs. You get ways on taking actions. We constantly send out action alerts on how you could be directly involved in this and contacting your lawmakers. But more importantly, we do gun owner lobby days across the country at our state capitals. We do gun rights rallies. We do campaign events. We do endorsements. We go after candidates that are pro-gun or that are anti-gun, and we support candidates that are pro-gun. And we don't take sides with political parties. If a Republican is anti-gun, we're going to go after him just as much as if it was a Democrat that's anti-gun. We're here to fight for the Second Amendment, and our product speaks for itself. We are known in D.C. as the No Compromise Gun Rights Organization, and there's a reason for that.
No, that's awesome. Very good stuff. Everybody check it out. Gunowners.org is the website. We got the links right there in the description. Luis Valdes, Florida State Director for GOA. Thank you for joining us.
Again, Matt, thanks for having me on the air, and thanks for the hard work you do, brother.
I appreciate that. I do. God bless you. Happy New Year. We'll be back next time on the Matt Buff Show. You guys stay smart out there.